So this part here that we're working on is the doors for your cabinet. This is not the cabinet we're going to be doing it on, but it is the example of what we're going to make it look like. So this, for all intents and purposes, this will be a locking door that will just open and close like so. So this is traditional arcade cabinet style door. We put holes in it for vents. We will be doing the same for this one just to show you how to do that. You can omit that if you want. Usually Raspberry Pi computer type of MAME setups, stuff like that, don't necessarily need it. If you have a full-size computer with a full-size power supply and stuff in there with those fans running and stuff, you probably want to have some ventilation. This is a way to do it. You could put it on your top or bottom if you do so choose. All right, so we're going to move on to what we need for this setup. So this is our door for our little mini cabinets that we're doing for this whole vision quest of an arcade. So this is our cabinet here that we're working on. These are the tools that we need to accomplish what we have going on for what I just showed you. So these panels here are cut pretty much exactly to the size of our hole on the back of the cabinet. And that gives it a little bit of leeway so that it can move out and stay nice and rudimentary. What we have here is our screws, obviously, for some of our locks and stuff like that for our lock here. We use these plate locks. They're kind of like a furniture lock. It's just square on the back, and then it has a little bar that comes out of the top here when you open and close it so that it's flush with the back of your wood here so that it just kind of holds it there. We've got our hole or step bit here that we're going to use, either this one or this one for our hole saw for our holes for our vents. And then we have a 3/4 inch blade bit that's going to be used to cut our hole for our key or for our lock. Measuring tape, obviously, and you're going to need a drill, all that fun stuff. So we'll show you the dry fit first, and we'll pop it in here so you can see how close of a fit you're going to want on this. All right, so we have just a very small gap there and nothing on the bottom. So when we're all done with this little piece that we've cut out on the side here, that one there is going to be just mounted to the bottom there to hold it in, and then the lock will hold it at the top here. So I will get set up here and we'll show you how that's done. Okay, so first off, what we want to do is we're going to be using this piece here that I showed you, the small piece. So what I did was we measured it out to fit in between our braces, right? So our cleats on the side here, these cleats are going to hold the door from going inside the machine, but you also want to make sure that this piece here that's going to be holding our door in on the bottom is free from those cleats. You don't want to make it too tight, and you don't want to make it bigger than the cleats, because then it's a pain in the ass to cut off afterward and that type of a thing. So what we're going to do is we just set up with a little piece of wood here so that we can keep our piece here level. It also shows the depth of what we want to go here, because we've figured that out on our own on how far we want to go. So basically what we're going to do is make sure that that bottom part is flush with that, and then we're going to center it in our door. So we'll measure that out, center it, and then draw our line, and then we'll pick it up, put some glue in there, and then we're just going to put some nails in there and pin it down. You can, if your door's bigger, we highly recommend that you put like 4 screws along it and pin it at the same time, just to give it a little more oomph. We can put some screws in here too, but if you do that, especially with MDF, you're going to want to do some countersink holes before you actually do it. So you can glue all this, put it in like he's doing, and then pin it in, and then countersink your holes, and then put some screws in it afterwards. All right, so see, after he's glued it, he's measuring it again because he moved it. He's in the right place where he wants it to be, and then we just nail it in. And he did kind of a zigzag pattern, up, down, up, down, up, down. Just make sure, obviously, you don't nail into your piece of wood there. You don't need that piece of wood, it just makes your life that much easier. All right, so we'll countersink a hole or two in here and put some screws in there. Dun, 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 dun. Whatever, we'll do 3 or 4, whatever. Just so you can see how it is. So what this is going to do is just give it strength for longevity. I mean, the other way will work on this small cabinet, but on a large cabinet, you're definitely going to want to put screws in here. So nice and tight. All right, so we can test fit this piece and make sure that it's all good to go. So we're going to take our door now and we're going to do a little dry fit here. So make sure that it fits, everything's all good. And now you can see how that wedges in there. The bottom there holds it tight. It's the same width, obviously, as the wood, so it's going to hold and go be flush on the part where it's not fastened to. And you're going to get that nice end-all be-all fit, okay? And then if your door has a little bit of a bend in it so that you get this up here, when we do the lock there, you can tighten that up so that when you push that in, that closes that nice and flat and flush. Okay, so we're moving forward. So we pre-measured this off camera, obviously. All we did was just find a center of our width here and then just down, and then we just kind of did a little template kind of drawing of what our piece is so that we're good to go. These holes are even but random. They're 3 inches down by 4 5/16 inside, just to kind of, you know, obvious math and stuff for our measurement so that it looks nice and even and symmetrical. But what we're going to do is we're going to take our spade bit and we're going to cut this hole first. So we're going to get halfway to 3/4 of the way through till the tip of our spade bit comes through the other side. Then we're going to flip this over and then hit it from the other side so that we don't fray the edges on that finished look. The lock itself has a flanged piece that will clean it up and everything, but if you just blast through that, it might break more than this would cover. So we want to try to keep the damage on those both sides to a minimum. Any substrate that you use on this, especially plywood or melamine, will be 10 times worse than MDF depending on what type of bits you're using. If your bits are super sharp, you shouldn't have too much of a problem, but I still don't recommend going all the way through in one pass. I would definitely come through on the other side once we get to that point. So we are going to move forward. So you just see that little hole come through. The smaller the hole, the better, because it'll line up with your end on the other side. All right, so you can see how nice of an edge that is. It wouldn't have been that nice if we tried to pass that right through. Now, also with that being said, we used a 3/4 inch. You're probably gonna, if you use a different lock, you can use any kind of lock you want for this. We just chose to use these locks, but your lock size might be a different size than our bit. So make sure that you measure that first and you know what kind of lock you're gonna use before you start drilling the holes. All right, so we'll kind of dry fit it in here to test it. All right, so it comes through. That flange might be a tight fit. If it's a super, super tight fit and it won't go in, you can take the spade bit and you can kind of do a little go inside and then do a little mini wobble. And then what that'll do is it'll widen up that hole just a tad. But you don't want to go too much. It's kind of hard to go back. You don't want to go backwards on this because otherwise then you might have to glue that flange in there, and then glue doesn't like to stick to metal and wood, so it's more of a friction fit. So if you can get it in there, make it happen and you're good to go. All right, so there's our finished look. Just got to hold it from the bottom because we haven't screwed it in. So we are going to flip this over and we're going to cut our other holes for our vent holes, and then we'll screw this all together and we'll have a door pretty quick. So we've got our other 2 points that we're going to do. We are going to do, I think this is going to be a 1.5 inch bit here for a hole saw. It doesn't matter what the hole size is. Obviously, the bigger, the more flow of air you're going to have in it. Does it really need that much? Possibly, possibly not. You can also use these holes as handles to hold on to the door as well. So, you know, it comes up to personal preference for the size on these holes. But we are going to do it relative to the ones I showed you in the beginning of what we do here for a finished look. And the size on per scale is about 1.5 inches on these ones. So. All right, so you're seeing what he's doing there where it's like kind of go, stop, go, stop. What he's trying to do is feel for the whole bit coming through on the other side. What we want to do, especially because this bit obviously is a little bit dull, it's smoking a little bit. It won't affect the cut too much. Obviously, I need to sharpen this one, but moving forward with it, you want to do from one side, then flip it over, and then do the other side. You want to make sure the bit is clean, that type of a thing. So when he's going and stopping, it's to find that hole on the opposite side, right? And you can hear him kind of going for it. And then the other thing is cleaning the bit out when you pull it in and out to get all that dust and all that crap out. So we will flip this over. And you can also use your step bit for this too, but it only goes about 1 1/8 inches. This is about another 1/4 inch larger. But as you can see, we can still get a nice hole out of that. So even though the bit's a little bit dull, it is the fact that it's melamine and a smaller bit too. It will smoke on you a little bit. Plywood might, depending on, you know, how she be, but like if you look at the actual cut, it's not actually like burning it. It's just the dust in there getting friction and type of thing, so it smokes a little bit. So now we have our panel cut. We got our little holes in there. We will sand this up, prep it a little bit. Obviously we want to paint it and do all that fun stuff. So we will be doing a little bit of work to it, but right now we'll just screw our lock in there and make sure that our dry fit and everything is working properly. And we'll go from there. So you got to put your flange in on the other side depending on the lock. Some locks have them, some don't. Just depends on the look you're going for. And or what you found on Amazon, that type of thing. Now you'll notice here that the lock is flush with the top for this type of the wood itself. Obviously not to block the door from, you know, closing all the way, but you want it as close as possible so that you get as much strength from the lock as possible as well. The screws that he's putting in, these ones didn't come with the lock. I don't think these locks come with screws. Some of the locks that you'll get might have different setups, right? So we're just using like a Robertson #1 kind of screw here. I think it's 5/8 long. You can choose to countersink these or not. We don't. It makes for a tighter fit when we do it that way. If you countersink, it could be a little loose if you don't do it properly. All right, so we're going to drop it in and show you how that all fits nicely. Whammy. Look at that. She locks up nice and tight like a tiger. And yeah, after you paint it, you get that nice finished look like I showed you in the beginning here.